So you can see we've got our knife assembled right now, the liners and the blade, and it's got a lot of pressure on it. You can see where the liners are, where the spring is curved kind of a little bit. We're going to grind those liners down because we've got it under tension where it will actually close and open, but it's a little bit too much tension, and you can see our liners are too large. So that's what we want. Now we want to line everything up. So I'll bring you back when I get this ready to grind. So we got our knife contoured pretty good with the liners. It's got a good spring to it. And so now we're going to disassemble the knife, and we're going to actually mill out the liners, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. There's an area right in here that we don't want rubbing on the knife. You see a lot of them that have a scratch, a half moon scratch on them from opening and closing. We're going to mill out on each side of the liner about 9/1000ths of an inch on each side to give us clearance on the tang of this knife. All right, at this point we're going to put a little bit of Dicam. We have marked our left and right. We're going to put a little Dicam on the inside of the liners up at the top where the pivot's going to be on both liners. You can see this is the right outside, right. We'll do the same thing to the inside of this liner. Doesn't take that stuff long to dry. And then I will set my calipers to about 100/1000ths of an inch, pretty close. 100,000, 99.5 is good enough. And I'm going to make a mark up at the top of each liner, and that's going to be a reference point at the milling machine when we put this on our rotary table to actually mill out the liners, and I'll show you that process. And that keeps the blade from scraping. It actually creates a bushing on the inside of the liner itself. It protrudes out, and then when the knife blade folds open and closes, it's not rubbing on the inside of the liner because we've milled that area out. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark it because we don't want to go past that line right there. You see how I have, see if you can see where I put that mark, and I'll do both of them that way. And then we will move over to the milling machine and get set up over there, and I'll show you what we're doing. So this is a rotary table on our milling machine, and this is just a plate, a jig that I made specifically for milling out our liners. I didn't come up with this design. I watched a video that Chris Crawford made of Chris Crawford Knives. He's got a lot of tutorial videos. It really has helped me. We've got a pin right here that we've placed. It's the same size as our pivot hole, 3/32 of an inch. We've got a plate right here. We'll loosen this up, and then I have a set screw. If you see, I've got a little Allen key. I've got a set screw going all the way through well, I've actually got a piece of brass in there, and the set screw is about 1/4 inch long. Loosen that up, and it takes the pressure off this, and I can actually pull this pin out. I then take the liner and give us enough room. We want to get all of our debris from under there, because we don't want to have any areas of the liners that are not parallel to this plate. So I'll slide my liner up underneath this fixture plate and line that pivot up with this pin, and then we will press that down, tighten up the Allen, and tighten up these bolts, and that holds our liner in there for milling. I'll bring you back. I've got to change this out to a milling bit, and we'll be right back. One thing that I didn't show you, we've got to calibrate. You can see how my drill bit is going down. We're just going to calibrate this hole, because we're going to spin this rotary table while we're milling that liner out. So we want this, and if this is not specifically in the center, you can get this out of whack. So right now I'm just checking to make sure we have this centered. So there's hash marks on this rotary table, and I'm going to turn it, we're sitting on 0 right there, and of course we've got 360 degrees. I'm going to turn it 90 degrees, and I'm looking at my marks right in here where my finger's at, and when I get to 90, I'm going to stop, and I'm going to look and see if we've still got clearance. We can get up and down in the hole. Now I'm going to turn it to 180 degrees. There's 180. It's a hair off right there, so we need to move the table just a little bit. I'm actually moving in the x-axis this way with the table right now, just about 0.10 of an inch, a little bit more, maybe 15,000. Okay. We'll go ahead and spin around to 260 degrees. So I'm going 90 degrees each turn to make sure that we're lining up. There's 260, we're still on target, and so on and so forth till we get this centered up, and I'll bring you back. So this is just a cheap high-speed steel 4-fluted milling cutter. You can see how those cutters are on the bottom. We're changing that out to a R8 collet into our milling machine now, to get ready to mill those liners out. Again, we place our liners. We've got everything set up where we're spinning in a 360-degree perfect circle. Here's our set pin. We want to go ahead and tighten that down with our little Allen head. Not real tight, just enough to secure. Right there, it's good enough. This right here is really what holds it down. All right, now we're going to bring our bit down. So we get right over our work. All right, and then let's see if you can see this machine here. Now I'm going to crank, if you'll look at the y-axis right here, I'm going to crank that over to 400 thousandths, which is almost 7/16 of an inch. What I'm doing is I'm moving my table over 400 thousandths of an inch to where the milling cutter, and then I'm going to lock my table in right there, in the Y and the X axis. Now then, I will come down even further with our bit. I will lock it in. Then we'll go to our fine tuner digital readout. If you can see it, it's right here. I don't think you can see the numbers, but regardless. Okay, at this point, we'll fix it to where we can fine tune and adjust down. You can see we're coming down further. And at this point, I use a feeler gauge. Usually get a feeler gauge out and find the one that is about 10 thousandths thick. And I'll bring the milling cutter down till it's touching the filler. Till it's touching and holding a little bit. I will tighten at that point, and then I will zero out our DRO, and I know I'm exactly 10 thousandths above that liner now with that cutter. At this point, I'll actually twist the fine tuner to 10 thousandths, and we will come down right on top of the liner at 10, and I will zero it out. Now we're going to start the machine up, and I don't know how good you can see it, but I'm going to be turning as we mill. Matter of fact, let me just see if I can. Well, I can't hold everything, so it's the best I can do right now. This milling cutter, we want to turn it up to about 900 RPMs. Make sure we're not getting into the line. And then we'll put it about 4 thousandths. We'll come down about 4 thousandths of an inch. There's 4 thousandths. And at this point, I think I can zoom in a little bit for you. What we're doing is I'm gonna turn, and that's what's milling out our liner. You can see it better from this side, maybe. You can see our reference point. We didn't go past that. We don't want to do that. And what we're doing is we're milling out a pocket to where the blade won't rub. Over on this side, you can see our line. If I've got it zoomed in there right. And I'll come about to that line at this point, and then I'll bring it down another 4 thousandths of an inch, and so on and so forth. I'll bring you back and show you what it looks like. All right, we've got this one milled out, so let's pull the pin. I've got the stuff loosened up, and let you take a look. You can see how that's milled out that area. So now, in the area that you can see that's been milled, that area is about 9 thousandths thinner than the rest of the liner. So when the blade actually pivots, it's got this part here that's still blue, it's got Dychem on it, acts as a bushing, and this keeps it from rubbing. So now we'll do our other one, and I'll bring you back to the next step, which will be putting a nail nick in the blade.